Choke it.
Stop.
Aren't you glad you closed your eyes?
Oh damn! Ooh, whoa! Wow! Wow! Why did I do that? Please help me! Jesus Christ! Please help me! Give me cookies? No, no, no. I'm sorry. I can't give you my cookies. You'll have to harass someone else for cookies. Sorry. Sorry. No, no, no. No, I can't give you my cookies. Oh my lord! This woman is like just sucking it out of me, isn't she? Jeez.
Got a clear view, clear way of getting up. A massive, great big fucking ladder.
Oh god, I fell down. I fell down the ladder. It wouldn't let me get back on the ladder. I'm like, run, 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 and they're like, Hoya! Hoya!
Okay.
They're like,
I don't know how to reply to any of that.
they're fucking everywhere. I'll give you treatment at the witch's house. Okay. Oh my god, we're carrying him home. Oh my heart. Guys. Oh. We're carrying him.
Exactly one of those.
Oh yeah, they go like.
What the fuck was that?
That's the sound the dinosaurs make. This is as terrible as the smell of spotted shit take mushrooms. I don't think that's how you meant to say that word, but anyway. Up ahead is the engine room. Okay. Chit chat. Please save any inquiries regarding souvenirs. Shiitake. Shiitake? Did I say? Unless this is not sugar and this is salt. It says salt.
You can taste it. You can't. It doesn't have a smell. Babe. Oh yeah, that's no. Midnight gaming. One of those Chihuahua puppy dogs that has a lot of bark and a lot of bite.
No, there's none of those. Chihuahuas don't have bite. They just bark out the window at things that are much larger than them.
Spike down B. Feeling fence. One down. One enemy remaining. Flawless.
They really just lined up there. Honestly, can someone just like press the clip button? I don't care if you actually name it, but that was pretty funny.
I got you.
Because I liked it. They just like lined up for that. Just sat there and was like, okay. Sound does a cookie make? Nom 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 nom. We can defuse that. What are we doing? Oh wait, no, we're planting. Never mind.
There.
Oh my god. No. Nobody clip it. Don't do it. I should have so gotten that. Why didn't I not get that? Oh, why am I
Do you
not?
have any other guns?
Yep. I was just trying not to
Did you just skedaddle them?
I actually did!
No, revive the good one first. Yeah, so revive Connor.
Like, shove it in my face like this?
Yeah. Close your eyes. Choke it.
Hello, beanies. I want to change now, because why not? I hope everybody's doing well. I don't know why this is not bringing up the game. Oh. I don't have it open, that's why. gotta turn my music down a bit for me, because I hope that's coming through the game audio when I click in. It is. Okay, good. Good. So my lowest disciple of the hands is culinarian. So you're eating a cookie? Yum. Go to work. You can't talk to me and work at the same time. So yeah, the lowest I have is culinarian. And that's 45. So I wanna work on getting that level up. Because I was gonna make some outfits and stuff that are better gear, because most of my gear's pretty low. But then I worked out, well, like, I can't really do that because I need them all to be a similar level so that I've not got like 600 different types of gear at different levels. So we're gonna accept some culinarian ones. I don't know how, we're gonna do some 30s as well, I reckon. I can't accept anymore. Okay. And then we're gonna I've never made anything cooking wise, okay guys? So don't judge me. Whoa. Okay. Okay, we need a lot of stuff for this. Okay. Raw materials list, here we go. So what do we need to get that we don't already have? We need to get blood currants. We do have some stuff in our retainer, so we're gonna have to go downstairs to go to the retainer. I don't know how to get downstairs. I always forget how to get out of here. Let me downstairs. Can I go downstairs? Thank you. Yes. I go. Alright. So, we're gonna get all the stuff from the retainer that we do have that we need before we go and do anything else. Whee! Oh, we're gonna have to catch some fish too. Brass loach. I might buy that, to be honest. I hate fishing. It's my least favorite. Yeah, it's my least favorite. Oh, I need to be able to see the list. So I need to take a screenshot of this. Because it disappears when you go into the menu. So then I just post it in my Discord chat and then open it so I can see it. Alright. So, we need to find what we do have. So give me what you got. What you got? What we got? There's so many things in here, actually. Okay, we need bat wings. Yep. Cool, so I got the bat wings. What else do we need? Wow, I have so much stuff in here. I wonder if there's anything that I've already got made that I could use. Sometimes I do have. No, I don't think I do. Okay. That's fine. So we also have mineral water. Gotta find the mineral water. Is this it? It is. Okay, mineral water. What else? Maple sap. I don't think it's on this one. It might be my other retainer. What else have we got? Rock salts also. I wish we could just go like give me what I need for this recipe sort of thing and it will transfer what you need. That'd be so handy. Oh, we do need natron, so that's awesome because we do need that. I didn't see that there. Yes. I need it for a different recipe that I was doing actually. The rest of that mistletoe. I knew I had some. Okay, I don't think I have anything more on this one. I'm also going to check what we're selling on the store in case I've put anything up for sale that we need. Which cookie are you? A gingerbread cookie. Ooh, nice. Very seasonal. Very seasonal. No, okay, good. So we just saw the adorable one. So now we're going to go check out my cookie. Okay. So we need sunset wheat. Ooh, I don't think I have any of that in here. We need rock salt. Gotta be here somewhere because it's saying that we have 6 in the retainer. The order of this is really funny though. I always get confused on where stuff is. Maple sap? Do we need that? We do. We need the maple sap, thank you. And effervescent water. Where's the rock salts? Am I missing it? Okay, it looks like a diamond shape. A pink diamond. We selling it? I'm so confused. The other guy must have had it, and I missed it. Oh, or do I have it in... Oh, there it is. I found it. Never mind. I was about to say, did I have it in my, Chocobo thing, maybe? Was my only other thought. That's okay, I found it. Okay. Bye-bye. I don't think I'll have anything in my Chocobo saddlebag because I don't tend to really keep... you know, I only have, like, maid stuff in here. I don't really keep anything like that in my Chocobo saddlebag. Okay. Let's go find me some... We're gonna, yeah, gonna refresh that. So, we're gonna go find me some... I'm gonna buy the brass loach off the store, I think, because I cannot be bothered fishing that up. Brass loach. Oh, no one's selling it? You're joking me. Oh, I'm gonna have to go fish it up. I don't wanna. Alright. Well, let's do this, because at least we know exactly where we need to go for this. I'm gonna go to the South Shroud, get some blood currants. Alright. Where are we going to get these? We're already on button list? Okay, great. Blood currents. Show me the map. This way. Whee. Alright. Oh, there's one this way. I don't want to get too close to these guys because sometimes you can aggro them without meaning to. And that does not end well. Awesome blood currents. I don't really know how many I need. It is just saying 1, but I might get a few just in case. Because I need to make 3 tarts, so... For Bango Zango. Where's that one? I need to zoom in, I think. My map's like way too far out and I can't tell. There's bloodcurrant seeds, but I put them up for sale, the other seeds up for sale because I don't have a house at the moment to grow them anyway. And so far I haven't really had many people buy them, so I don't think there's really much worth me picking the seeds right now. Maybe while I'm here, I might go to another one and get some thyme in case I need that for another recipe. While I'm here, you know? Thyme, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Alright. Yeah. Get some thyme just in case. Thyme. I don't know what it is. Okay, buffalo milk. I'm gonna have to I have to search that because it's gonna be from buffalo milk Final Fantasy. Where do the buffaloes spawn? Is there any in this area? Where are we? Shroud. Apparently there are some in Old Gridania. Oh no, NPC. Oh, no, I want to buy, like, can I? Oh, you can't. You have to buy it? Oh, okay. Yeah, people are complaining about it too. They're like, everything else can be farmed. Interesting. Okay. I have to go to New Gridania first, and then we can go to where the buffalo rang. Hey RJ, how you doing? I can't believe you have to buy that. That's crazy. That's the first time I've heard of something needing to be bought over farmed for a crafting recipe. Alright. Where's the closest way to get to Old Gridania? This way. This way! And then I have to work out where in Old Gridania. I'm terrible with the coordinates, honestly. You're finally back in Aoza? Yeah? I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, by the way. I've never... The Ethernet. Oh, yeah. I can do. I need to find... Ohayod. I'm gonna assume they're gonna be in here in the store section, because that makes sense. If not, then I'm just gonna cry about it. My goodness, someone's named themselves Tom Holland. Please send help. Oh, is this him? Them? Her? Oh, what is it, her? Sorry. Sorry, ma'am. Hello. Can I have some of your milk, please? How much milk do you reckon I need? I don't know how much milk I need for my recipe. I need 2, but I need to make at least 3 of them, so... Let's just get 10. It's pretty cheap anyway, so... It's fine. I need to catch this fish, and I hate fishing! Any chance you're free to do some fishing? I know you're playing a different game. No one's selling it. I don't understand why no one's selling it. I was just gonna buy it, but nobody's selling it. Recommended fishing level 9. Fish type lakes. It is a brass loach. I'll send it to you. Apparently it's a pretty low level one. I'll just send it in our group chat because it's easiest. Let's see if I have it. Okay. Thank you. Otherwise, I will go fishing for it because it looks like a low-level fish. At least it's in the black shroud, which is nice. As opposed to all the other ones that have been in everywhere else. I do not know that I have any crayfish bowls, though. Oh, I do. That's the preferred bait, apparently. Girls come in. I'm trying to do my some of my culinary ones because that's my lowest job at the moment. So it's 45 in comparison to like 50 and up. I think because I've gotten levy quests for all the others, but not really got any levy quests for there because they were in a very specific place to get them. In Limsa. Yay, I wanna be a rock star. Yeah, that's all I need. I just need that fish. So maybe I start looking at what I need for some of the other stuff. This wants 3 as well. Oh my goodness, I want 3 of everything. Oh my goodness, there was so much beehive chips, Midland basil, chicken eggs. Where do you get a chicken egg from? Do you have to buy those too? You probably have to buy those too, hey. I'm gonna look for chicken eggs. Can you buy chicken eggs? Let's find out. Hello? Do you sell chicken eggs? Oh, you sell beehive chips. But if I can craft them, I'll just craft them, because... Oh, you do sell chicken eggs. Yes, give me some chicken eggs. Thank you. What about this, though? You can't gather that, okay. These captions make you sound like a theoretical physicist. I am a theoretical physicist. What does she even mean? Of course I am. It's so wild. Okay, it's so wild to me. And I understand this is to, like, make you experience the world and make you, like, play the entire, like, Final Fantasy universe, and rather than you just sticking to one area. But it is wild to me that you are forced, against your will, fully against your will, to run around the entirety of the universe to make one thing. It's just wild to me, honestly. I need to see my cookie, or me cookie. I don't know what we're calling it. Me cookie, my cookie. Thank you for the rye. That's what I needed. Because, like, beehive chips, you can do in North Shroud. But then Midland basil, you need to go to, like, Eastern Lenosia. What? Why? I might buy the beehive chips and then just get the basils, because I see BF going around everywhere. I did see it here. Yeah. 30 gil. Excellent, thank you. Don't have any? That's okay. I will go fishing. I shall go fishing. I feel like it's obviously not a very common fish because nobody's selling it on the board either. So it mustn't be a very popular fish. The Cooking Guild shop? Okay. I'll go get this. Basil. Basil. Okay, where are we going to get this basil? I hope I'm able to craft these things because I've not tried before. I don't want to be in the fate, thank you. I just want to get me veggies. My basil. Whee! Get some extras as well. I like having extra just in case, you know? You never know if you're gonna stuff up the recipe and need to do it again. And you can always sell the extra. Alright. You know what? I'm gonna craft or cook right here. You guys ready for this? I am currently equipped with the best. Okay. Let me craft this. Crafting log. I think I have a click over here. There we go. Oh, I need to craft this separately. We're just gonna quick synthesize it. Synthesis, synth, whatever. Oh, you get so much rye flour from that. Whoops, okay. You get 3 sacks of it. That's fine. Excuse me. Honey. Oh, I must have done honey before as well. Oops, stuffed that up. It's alright. Alright. Let's go. Let's see how we go, guys. I'm gonna synthesis it. Oof. Oh, okay, I do have this. Reduces loss of durability. Oof. Failed. Oh, failed. Okay, that one succeeded. Oh. Oh no, I'm not gonna be able to get it. Can I restore item durability? Thank you. Okay. I want to make at least one perfect, and then the other two I won't mind. I'm scared I'm not gonna have enough CP durability. I did it! Oh, you get 3 from 1? Nice. That's my loaves of bread done. Woohoo! I did something! That was scary. We're gonna make lots of table salt. Oh, you get lots of salt from that. Okay, I feel like we don't need that much salt. Okay, we need iron acorns. Is this in this area? Oh my goodness, we found something that's actually in the same area that we're already in. That's crazy, guys. That never happens. That literally never happens to me. Whee! I love being able to fly. My favorite. Whee! I don't know what I did before I could fly. Just cry, probably, honestly. Ooh, a goat skin mat. Take that. Alright. More iron acorns. Whee! Okay, I've got lots of iron acorns. So I need to change back to being culinarian. Oops, I used low. Okay. Did not mean to use low qual, but that's okay. We're gonna make do. Oh, shoot. I just wasted... Oh my goodness, I've just wasted, like, all my CP. So I was pressing the wrong button. Oh, no. You can see... Oh, you forgot about the monkey skin? No! That's alright. I'm sure it will come out again. Like... I don't think I'm gonna get this one high qual. I don't know if I'm gonna... I'm just gonna have to synthesize it. I stuffed that up so bad. I'm gonna try again, because I've got enough stuff to do it again. But I'm gonna try the high qual and not pressing the wrong buttons. Not pressing the wrong buttons would be helpful. Like a virgin. For the very first time. Virgin. Next to man. Alright, synthesizing. Woo! High qual! Let's go! I love high qual. Oh my lordy lord. Sauerkraut needs a lot of stuff. But we actually do have it all. We just need to go see our retainer. That's good. Where is the closest place I can spawn a retainer? Will be in the... Let me I actually be able to hand in some of my, some of the stuff while I'm there as well. Should be good. Yeah, I was gonna make some, new gear. But then I was like, oh, well, I don't know if there's much point making new gear because I've got such a low-level culinary. So we're taking some time to upgrade the culinary, and then we can make some gear. Because otherwise we've got to have one type of gear for the culinary, and then a different type of gear for the others, because they're different level. Oh my god, I've got crows going on. I'm so sorry if you guys can hear those. I don't think you'll be able to, because my Mic's pretty good, but they're just crazy today, honestly. I don't know what's going on. Let me, 40 something. 42, I think. Let me, I don't remember what I needed to, to make this recipe. Oh, there we go. See. Yeah, 45. So, I think when I was looking at the... Oops, the crafting. It's like... Everything else is above 50. So, I wanted to make stuff for the level 51 to 55. So I'm gonna level this up to 50 and then make some stuff. That'll be good for both. Oh. I gotta find out who has my... Oh, they're my cabbages. My laurel. Well, that's sage. It looks like laurel, but it's not. It also looks like laurel, but it's not. Must be my other guy that has my laurel. Where's my laurel? Gimme. Thank you. Have a nice time, my cookie. Oh, my cookie's actually back from their quest. I should get them to do stuff like this for me, but I think most of... Look, see, I haven't picked up most stuff. I really need to go and pick things up. Because, like, honey lemon and stuff, like this stuff, they can't do for me because I haven't gone and done it myself. What do I need for my next thing? Maybe they can pick up something for it. Show me the raw materials list that I don't have. Oh, they can do mirror apples. I can send them to get mirror apples. I'll do that. Yeah, give me some mirror apples. Alright. For now, we're gonna make some sauerkraut. Oh no, we don't need dragon peppers? Well, this was what I just had the list for. Oh, I do have dragon peppers, but they're in a retainer. How did I miss that? I was so distracted by the laurel and the cabbages. My cookie has, like, all of my stuff. I should really look at them first, honestly. Okay. So, now we're gonna make... Do I have to... Oh, I can just do it automatically, but I want to get high qual, so I get better XP. So I'll do it myself. As scary as it is doing it myself. Okay, awesome. So far, so good. Now we just have to get progress up. Which should be easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Huzzah! Okay, awesome. Let's go hand these ones in. Yeah, crown pie we just need to get lots for, but that's okay. What was I even say? A tiny crown. What? Where would you get that from? A tiny crown. Interesting. I have to look that up because I have no idea about that. Zango, Zango! Hello, buddy. I've got, stuff for you. Here you go. Oh, that didn't even put me over. Oh my goodness, I really thought that it would. I've also got some acorn cookies. That will put me over shortly. I don't want to make extras, sorry. Okay, we're level 46, woohoo! Oh, this is gonna be slow. Alright. I've got more. Look at all the stuff that I have in my retainer. Like, everything I go to make, I'm like, oh, I need to go see my retainer. Need to go see my retainer. Go to see my retainer. They literally have everything. Ugh, I can't see what I needed. I'm not crafting. Gathering, crafting. Which one did I say I was doing? This one. Okay. So we need an egg. 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 I don't know if I have any eggs in here. Apkalu egg. Says I should have one. Maybe in my other retainer. And cinderfoot olives. Okay, perfect. Got those. Because I just have to find that egg. Must be in the other retainer. Don't let it get me. Yep, there he is. Awesome. And then I just have to go get some walnuts because I don't have any of those. Oops. In the upper paths we go. Off we go, chat. It's gonna take me a hot minute to get to level 50, isn't it? Alright, I'm gonna need my botany. And where are we going? This way. Whee! My pretty horse, guys! Whee! He's so beautiful. Don't let it get me. I do need to do that other duty as well. I know I can't do it right now, game. Where is it? Is it a dungeon? Yeah, I got extreme. That unlocks one of the mounts you were telling me about, Law. I unlocked the extreme version of it. Like the lordship, please prescribe me something. There's someone else and get me. I hope I get this first time, because otherwise I'm gonna have to get another one of those eggs, and I don't want to have to get another one of those eggs. We'll see how we go. Oh, we're gonna have to really go into the crafting here. Oh my goodness. Oh, we haven't done this type of flower before. Oh, nice. We didn't even really need to. Oh no. Oh, thank God, that's still a good qual. Whew. Okay, we've got salt. Oh, we need smooth butter. No, we haven't done that before either. Look at all these things we haven't done, guys. Oops. I didn't want to use that. Whoops. Oh well. I always accidentally use my CP and I don't wanna. Perfect. Okay, walnut bread. Here we go. We haven't obviously not made one before, so we're going to have to synthesize it manually. So for those of you who have not played Final Fantasy, when you're crafting, there's I don't even know if I'm saying this right, by the way, but synthesis And then there's autosynthesis. You can only autosynthesis once you've done the synthesis once before yourself. So that's why I have to manually do all of these, because I haven't done them before. Oh, it's a maple syrup as well. That I have done, I know that, so I can just tell it, hey, synthesize, and it will synthesize, and it will sometimes do normal quality, sometimes will do high quality, it just depends on your items and like your gear and stuff. I may need to quit this and try and see if I can get one to do. Oh, it did do a high qual. Nice. Right at the end. Awesome. Alright. Oh, olive oil as well. I'm going to synthesize one auto, see if it makes high qual. If not, I'll do it myself. If you're using high quality ingredients when you're synthesizing, you will start with a higher quality. So like just now I had no high quality because as far as I know you can't pick high quality. From the ground. They always come normal. Oof. I'm getting wrecked over here. Oh my goodness, no. Thank goodness, okay. Yeah, so from what I know, you can't, when you're picking them, you cannot pick them, like you can't do your mining and stuff and get high quality. You can only get normal quality. So the ingredients themselves, like the original ingredients, can only be normal quality. So you start with 0, 0 when you're making something from normal quality. But if you start with high quality items, like I am, see, you start with the quality of 850 instead of 0, which makes your life 700 times easier when you, oh, there you go. They removed high quality mining and botany. There you go. I thought so. But yeah, it makes your life so much easier because you're not having to worry too much about how many times you're having to use your stuff. My durability is going down heck as fast though. Okay, I think one more hasty touch provided it actually works. Okay, good. Synthesis. I'm scared. I might give this an extra little bit of durability. Just to make sure we get we get it. There we go. Woohoo! 3 pieces of Losian toast. I'm terrible with names. I butcher everything. I'm so sorry. Oh, we need another one of those eggs anyway. Okay. Well, that's fine. Wow, we don't have any of these ingredients. Look at all these ingredients. I'm going to assume you can't, find it or anything. Let me give a quick Google. Apkalu egg. Final Fantasy. Okay. Dropped in Eastern Lanosia. So, Lanosia, and we're going to Eastern. Then I'm going to try and work out where. I'm terrible with coordinates. 27, 2, 36, 4. Okay, so all the way down here somewhere. Okay, right down here. Right down the bottom. We got to get Apkalus. Apkalus. Would it be really cool if you could like raise chickens and stuff on this? I feel like that'd be a really awesome addition to their game. Or like, yeah, get eggs from like raising animals and milk from the like having a farm. I mean, it probably would reduce the amount of trading needed, so I feel like maybe that's why they don't allow it. Because obviously they still want people to be using that. What's my lowest thing on here? What area are we in? Level 30s, okay. I have a blue mage that's a level 30. Or a dark knight. I might do dark knight. Let's level my dark knight a little while we're out here. Oh my god, I don't want to kill it. Look at it. It's so cute. Oh, I don't want to kill that. Sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what any of the abilities on here do, by the way. Just so that you know, I'm just completely spamming. Oh, buddy, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I? Oh, I got you. I got an egg off you at least. Your death was not in vain. Oh, I'm sorry. That hurts my feelings, honestly. Alright, we've got Lower Nocia, Western, and Eastern Thanalan. Okay. Well, right now, we're closer to Lower, so we'll go to Morabee Bay. Oh, I'm going to change character, because I'm going to need to be doing some botanistness. Let's go! Whee! I should change what minion I'm using. I've been using the same minion for a few days now. I've got so many minions, I don't even know though. Got 2 pages worth of minions. Got so many, see? For a while I was trying to collect like all minions. We'll get a puppy, why not? Oh, I need to be on the ground to do it, hey. Hello, puppy! Alright. Oops. Where is it? In Morabee Bay. This way, okay. Isn't it? Isn't it? Whee! Okay, where are we going? Down here. What am I trying to get? Highland parsley. I said before, we get some extras just in case you need it. If there's another one nearby, that is. Yeah, down here. Highland parsley. I will need to get my sun lemons from one of my retainers as well. Okay, Western Lanosia. Is there a way to get there from where I am now? Where am I? I'm in Lower Lanosia. I don't think so, not really. I have to go all the way around. We'll just teleport. Let us teleport. I'm not I'm not running all the way around. Unmind. All right. Eee. All right. Rafika! Oh, there is a quest here I can complete, apparently. I might go do that while I'm here, because I literally have so many quests. I almost have the full amount of quests, because I keep grabbing side quests. And Law was telling me the other day, which I didn't know this, that there's actually a max quests, and I didn't know this before. We were surprised I've actually never hit it before, because I do just grab heaps bunch of side quests. But somehow I've managed to not hit it before. But I don't want to hit it, so whenever I do see a quest that I can finish, I do it. I think I also get really confused sometimes at which ones are like currently Island Seedling. Are currently active ones and which ones are new ones. So I just go up and talk to everybody just in case. I'm just getting these Lalafellan lentils just in case we need them for another recipe. Alright, let's do this quest and then we're gonna go to Alamigan to get the mustard. Everybody's talking about these relics. I don't know what they are. I've never done them. Okay, where are we going to do this here? Hello! Bulk Rider! Well, thank you. Look, quest complete. Woohoo! Alright. Let's go and get this gathering in Drybone. Okay. Where we going? This way. Not too far though. Just right here. How is there no more around here? There's one up here. We'll just grab a couple of those other ingredients that are here too. Alright, now we're gonna go see our friendo in Limsa, and we're gonna get our sun lemons. Oh my gosh, I was stuck on the light thing there. Alright, sun lemons! Woo! Who has my sun lemons? Which one of you? Surely it's you. ZiCookiie has like everything. Really? They don't have my sun lemons? Okay, it's gotta be the other one then. Adorable one. Do you have my cookie? My cookies. Do you have my sun lemons? Wait, what? There, I was gonna say. I was like, the other one definitely didn't have them, so where are they? Alright. Culinarian! Let's make these deviled eggs. Oof, there's no high qual for this, but we're gonna be okay, right guys? I believe in us. I hope you guys too. Do, too. Oh, it's gonna be so rough. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get this high qual, to be honest. Oh my goodness. Deviled eggs are hard. I think we're just gonna have to hand these as normal, to be honest, because... Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I'm gonna get it. Oh no! No, there's no way I'm gonna finish this! Oh no, I'm gonna waste my fish and stuff. Oh my gosh, I did it! Holy moly! Jeez. Holy. Okay. I'm just glad I did them, at least. It wasn't a complete waste of my fish and egg. Whew! My heart. I really didn't think that was gonna work. Goodness gracious. My heart is not meant for these things, guys. Right in the clouds. We're just gonna leave it as is, thinking I'm not doing extras for those things. Oh my goodness, that's still only 47 for my culinary. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to do any, yeah, level 50 is that one that I like. I might have to just make another set of lower level stuff. Because, like, my hat, for example, is only a 27 hat. It's very low. Level 27. My knife is level 24. Yeah, my fry pan's 28. Holy moly. Okay. Yep, we're gonna have to just make... I mean, I do 47 though. 47 would be okay. So maybe I do that. Copacabana. Copacabana. Yes. Let's get our next lot of stuff we need. So we need cobalt ore. I feel like this person has my ores, but I'm not sure. Oh, yes, some. Yep, cobalt ore. Iron ore. Basilisk eggs. I think they're in my other person. I've got virgin ones in here, but not normal ones. Hello, me cookie. Alright, basilisk eggs. Oh my goodness. Laura has puppy dogs on her stream right now. Oh my goodness. Laura, what are you making me look at right now? I love puppy doggies. I honestly love that. I love puppy doggies. And items to inventory. Alright, let's make this culinary knife for my culinarian person. Okay, we can do smithing for both the knife and so we just need to do carpenter for the wood. I wonder if I have any of the wood, actually. Hang on. I might have some of these actually pre-made, and I might not have to make it all. Because I have lots of stuff, honestly. Draw items. Cobalt ingot. Oh, we need this. Thank you. The whetstone. Wheatstone. I don't know how to pronounce it. Rosewood lumber. Oh, I don't think I have any of that. I have other lumbers. Do I have any on my sailing? Cobalt ingot? Yes, I do have that. Give me that. Return to inventory. What about my other one? It doesn't look like I have any rosewood lumber, so I'll have to make that. But that's okay, we can do that. Craft. And we'll quick synthesize, because I know for sure I can make them. Ugh, we've only got normal so far. This is rough. Maybe I should have done it myself. Ooh!
Oh, we got a high qual. We love that. Let's go. Excellent. We got 2 high quals and normals. That's not bad. All right, smithing. Here we go. I wonder if we can make a. I might try and make some high qual. Wow, you need 1216 for cobalt ingots to be high qual. Whew. Okay. I was not aware of this. I do not think I'm gonna get these high qual, to be honest. That one. Okay, I just have to finish that. If it's higher qual, it's high qual. If not... Nah, okay. That's okay. We're not gonna get a high qual for that, but that is okay. Let's go and we'll do our best, see what happens with this knife. Normal quality, I guess, is better than nothing. Come on, Eileen. Oh, I swear I will be. Okay, I'm getting high qual kitchen knife for sure. Yes! Yes! Cobalt culinary knife! Here we come! Awesome. So then if we go back to my culinarian... Why is it not saying that the knife is better? Is it not better? I'm so confused. Item comparison. It is. Why is it not? Is it a lower gear level? And that's why it says it's not better? Why would it not say that's better? It does think these wrist things are better, though. Definitely swap those. Very interesting. It just doesn't think it's better for some reason. It's at a level, higher level. It is high quality as well. It gives you 90 craftsmanship and 51 control instead of... I don't know. We'll go with it anyway, I guess. We'll stuff the recommended gear. I usually like to use the recommended because I thought that it like actually told you what it's meant to be, but I guess it lies sometimes, and that's fine. Liars! The lot of them! All liars. So for culinary, you want control, don't you? Not... Okay, so if I go logs, crafting. Hat, head. Head, here we go. Head? Oh, this is not the kind of head we want. What kind of head is this, anyway? Velveteen, a weaver, okay.
A weaver. Weaver? Yeah. And we want 46 to 50. Head. Okay, so at the moment we have a velveteen wedge. Which apparently isn't on here. Makes sense, but okay. Oh, no, because it's lower. Of course it's not going to be on here, silly duffer. That's plus 21 at the moment. This is perception. We want control, I think. I have to go one more down, I think, because they're all saying too low. Disciple of Magic. All classes. Why is that there? I'm so confused. Oh, this is like crafting level, right? This is not necessarily vitality control. Here we go, 26. I mean, it's only a little bit better. How is that? I mean, the defense is better too, to be fair. One's also 26. Okay. I guess that's the next best one that I can get for this level. Or crafting, anyway. So... Okay, we just need fleece. I mean, that's pretty easy to get. I think you get fleece from getting rid of something, but I might just buy it, maybe. I will look and see if we have any of this in my inventory, though, in my retainers and stuff. Where's the retainer here? So, undyed woolen cloth and woolen yarn. Okay. Hempen yarn, rainbow yarn, woolen yarn. Okay, we've got some woolen yarn. Fleece. It does not look like in this one I have any of the cloth, but I will look in the other one as well. No, I don't think so. Okay. No. That's okay. Let's be a weaver. Crafting. So we just need 2. We'll just auto-synth it, and we'll see what happens. Rough, okay. No high qual, but that's alright. Thank you, finally. Go use that one. I want to use the precise touch, but I can't. It won't let me. Oh, now it will. I do it! Yes! Wooden deer stalker. Woo! It's still saying that's not like the bet. I don't understand how the item comparison works, because that's like control plus 30. Look, see? How is that not better? I don't understand why it's saying that it's not better. Anyway. Oh, it's looking beautiful. Don't you guys love my outfit right now? Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. Alright, it's a level 43, so that's probably okay. It's 41, 38. 38's a bit low. Not the lowest though, 38 and 38. And definitely need to upgrade the frying pan. Let's upgrade the frying pan. Because that's wildly low. 28. Insane. Culinary's primary tool. Here we go. Might go to 46 or 50. Just see if there's one we can use in there. No, that's 48, which we're not 48. I mean, we're pretty damn close. I don't know how close, though. I don't think we'd get it with the next quest, I don't think. What's that one? What is 68,000? We could go hand it in and see. We might get enough. Where is it that we need to hand it in? Grathis? Okay, let's go. We'll go hand it in. We'll see what happens. If we get enough, we'll start making the level 48 one instead of the 46. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to make another one in a little bit anyway. What am I listening to right now? I don't even know what this is. I know you guys can't hear it. I just have it on for me. I just didn't even know what it was. Okay, let's go hand this in. It's important. Whee! Okay. Vivine. Yes, I've got some bread for you. Look at this, isn't it beautiful? Oh, I did level up. Ha! Thank God I did that first, because otherwise I would have cried later. Okay. So. Where was I looking at? Here. Hell's Kitchen is the one we need to do. We have the rosewood limber. Yes, the limber. And we have the cobalt on us already. So, who do you need to be? An armor crafter to do the cobalt plate. Armorer. Oh, I've only got one ingot. Let's make some more. What is quicksynth? Oh, we need to be blacksmith. Okay. Blacksmith. We'll just quicksynth it because I know that I'm probably not going to get any high qual anyways, so. Oh, how you doing? Is Laura okay? I've got her stream up, but I can't hear it. Or is she just chasing puppies? I'm upgrading my, I'm trying to upgrade my gear. That's what I'm working on at the moment. And do it doggies? Okay. I figured, but I wanted to make sure she was alright. Well, I don't want to make the knife. I've already made the knife. We're making a Hell's Kitchen primary tool for my culinary. RJ's back! Woohoo! What race is your character, and what do you, like, play? Like, DPS, sub, like, what? I think I might need to... Armorer, I need to be armorer, okay. I like making stuff myself, but thank you. If I need any help, I would totally know. The only thing that I struggled with, because I'm trying to upgrade my culinary person at the moment. Like level them up and stuff. And so I've been trying to do some of the quests, but they want like me to get fish. And I hate fishing. I hate fishing. It is my one thing I do not like is fishing. Because I do not have the patience to fish. The cooking itself is fine, and I don't mind that side of it. I don't mind the collecting and all that. I just do not have the patience to fish. I don't, and nobody's selling the fish I need because they're absolute buttheads, and it just makes me want to cry. But it's fine. Can I quick synth? No, I'll need to make it. Beggar. I won't even get high qual anyway, but I'm gonna try. I'm not on a high enough level on anything. To be honest, all my gear is really out of date. But I didn't want to make new gear. The thing is, they can all pretty much share the gear. I didn't want to make new gear. The other ones until my culinary was higher, so they could all have new gear. Yeah, I love this game, honestly. I always have. It's just been a while since I've been able to actually play. I'm really glad I got Sparky to play, because... oh my goodness, I'm gonna run out, aren't I? No! She's like my main person I play games with. I do this one. Okay, and then I do Master's Mend. Now give me 35 durability, and I should be able to synthesize 77. Boom. Awesome. Yeah, she's the main person I play games with. So I'm really happy that she wanted to try it out, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have played. I haven't, no. I haven't seen them stream. I love teaching new friends. Yeah, so I had a friend who taught me how to play originally, like when I first started playing when I met Law. And then I had to take a break for a while because I just couldn't afford the subscription. But they taught me that literally everything. And anytime I have a question, they would tell me what to do. Like, I have so much stuff in my retainer that I probably do not need, but I'm keeping it anyway because I don't know what to sell. Our mentor of mentors? Wait, did you know them too? If so, that's such a small world. Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yes. I was like, there's no way you also knew them. I mean, you might have known them, to be fair. It's a very small world, the Final Fantasy community. Yay! High qual! And for some reason, when I go recommend a gear, it doesn't think that my new stuff... Or is it because it's not in the armory thingy, so it can't see it? Or is it here? Armory chest. Look at my armory chest, it's so messy. Oh, it's just because it's not in there. I was full like, why is it not working earlier? Why is it not coming up saying that's, better? Yay! Maybe my culinary will actually be able to, like, make things now. Look at this choker and earrings, though. Can you tell I haven't upgraded anything in a while? Like, level 29 choker, level 25 earrings. That's okay, the wrist's okay. 27 spring. Two of them, 27 ring. I'm a level 48. I'm gonna food for friends so they have something to munch on for no reason. I have so much food. Law was actually telling me, we went into a dungeon the other day. They were like, make sure you eat food. I'm like, what do you mean eat the food? I don't eat the food. I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, yeah, eat the food. You get experience. I'm like, oh. I legit... I have all of this, and I'm sure there's probably more in my retainers that I just don't use. I just got these from Final Fantasy as well, because they gave me free stuff for some reason. I don't know why. Because they're them. I also have, like, all this paint when I want to paint things. I have some, like, decoration stuff for when I eventually get a house. And I also got a Fantasia potion the other day for literally no reason. Do you get one at the end of every quest line? Is that maybe where I got it from? Maybe that's where I got it from. I was so confused. It just came out of nowhere the other day, and I'm like, where did you come from? Okay, yeah, maybe I hit one the other day then, when I finished, which storyline did I finish? Oops, channel. I don't even know what I'm on now, honestly. I finished Stormblood? Yeah, Stormblood, now I'm on Shadowbringers. So maybe they did one in post Stormblood or something. Because it just came out of nowhere and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I will check my delivery Moogle. I don't think I have anything, but I will check him anyway. Oh no, that was just the delivery Law gave me. I did reply to Law's message. Nothing else. Nothing else. Yeah, I have such bad loot, honestly, right now. For everybody. Leatherworker and Culinary are the least, like, the worst ones, 35 and 37. I do also have really bad, like, these are, roles I've grabbed but never actually done anything with. So, like, Pug List is literally level 1. I grabbed it but didn't do anything with it. Rogue, yeah, level 9. Hildebrand questline, is that the one with the stupid dance? Is that the one that she always talks about that she hates? Because I also hate that questline. No, I agree with her. I'm sorry. No. I don't think you're gonna win that one, honestly. I don't think you're gonna. Why did truck to request? It's just so out of place and so stupid. Honestly, it's just so out of place, and I'm like, what is this? Oh. Alright, I'm gonna have to make some more crafty stuff, more stuff for my culinary. Story's so gifty, but the lore of that story. Serious over is one of the most touchy things in the game, and that's saying something. I don't watch any cutscenes. I don't watch the cuts. I don't know any lore about this game. I just played the game. What is this in? Rings. Rings. Is it hands? No, that hands with hands. Okay. Can I make a minion? What? I want to make a minion. That's cool. Okay, I see the problems now. Okay, I did for a while sit and like watch the cutscenes because I used to stream this like a while ago. I did used to sit and I used to like make voices for the ones that didn't have the voices. But I just don't have the patience anymore. I don't have the yeah, I don't have the ability to sit now to They're all 49s. I don't want that. I don't have the ability to just sit now. And read the stuff. Is this actually better? I'm so confused. It is. How does this even make sense? This ring is a level 27 ring and it gives you plus CP of 11. And you go up what? Like, I don't even know the math here. 20 levels. 20 levels. And you only get 2 extra CP? What? What? How do you go up 20 levels and get 2 CP? How does that even happen? 2. That's crazy. It's a lot to take in, I guess. It's literally the one piece of MMOs. It is. It's got so much story. And I try, okay? I try. I did actually cry at the end of one of them. I don't remember which one it was. But it was really sad. Somebody died at the end. And I was really, the worst gap in the entire game. It seriously is. What is that? I'll do it anyway, just because I need better gear. But, like, why? Why is it like this? I need the gear, but I'm also still sad about it. Okay, good. I can just be a goldsmith. Can I quick synth? Yes. Let me add it. I love quick synth. Makes me happy. I need to make 2 of them as well. I need to make 2. Let me make 2. I'll have to make this myself first. Yeah, I will. I don't have the right... Ah, got no wind shards. Why do you go through wind shards so heavily? I feel like none of the... I've got so many fire shards. Like, I've got 1,600 fire shards. But my wind shards, I've got, like, none. Why? I have a thing for falling for bad girls named Y that become a primal and then die because nobody believed in them. I believe it's probably about Y and that they didn't end up dying. For real. Is there like a way to... I wanna make these ones into the... Why do I not have any shards? Is there a way to get shards without actually gathering them? How expensive are they on the board? Can I just buy them from the board? I don't want to go get them right now. Retainers? Oh, I should actually... Yeah, I should send my retainers to do it. You're right. I do have to admit, Square Enix is very good at making the bad guys bad. I do have to admit that. I don't know if any of my retainers are back. I'm gonna have a look. Oh, one is. Can they do it though? I don't know what. Venture. This is a botany guy. Can I just change them? An essay published by Sale's backstory and fan theory that she could have survived if more people believed in her as Shiva. Oh, that's cute. Because this... Oh, I can get them with this guy anyway. Okay. Never mind. Is it just the one level down here? Okay. Fine. Oh, it's gonna take like ages though. I'm just gonna buy some as well. Whee! But why for real do the wind shards go through like candy in comparison to the other stuff? Oh my goodness, there's 75p each. Gil each. I say P because it looks like the letter P, but it's not. Right, okay, I'm not buying any of those. I'll just wait. I'll go gather some, I guess, because I don't want to be sitting there doing nothing. If I go to a higher level, will I get more from them? Or does it not matter? I don't know how that works. No, they're back in 2017, so no clue if I can even find that manuscript. I always talk about it because it drove me crazy. Hey, talking about it's something, you know? Like, all the same turnout for shards? Okay. I'll just go the super easy level 5 one then. I reckon it should give you more if you're in a higher level, but that's just me. I also think they should add farming of, like, milk and stuff, but that's also just me. I don't think anybody would actually agree with me. Would be cool, though. I did find it interesting that you can only get the milk from buying from the stores. I thought you'd at least have to go kill something. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Could you imagine? People would love it. You even make it another, like, another job. Wind shards, please. It's all I ever need. Like, literally, the only thing I've ever run out of in regards to shards is wind shards. And it's because, like, for this one, for example, you're using 16 wind shards for one ring. Well, of course I'm going to run out. Why are there no more things here? Excuse me. Normally there's heaps here. There we go. They actually haven't brought out any new jobs at all, have they? Like, they have in regards to, like, DPS and stuff, but not... they're classes, not jobs, aren't they? But I'm sure you knew what I meant. We need runner, a free running base class that transports items between buyer and seller via online texting service. I think that's your retainers, pretty much. I could be wrong, but I think that's pretty much what that is. What, do you know what they also need? Is they need to, some of the NPCs to grow legs and transport their own crap like 5 meters down the road. And volunteer to be the Law's retainer. I mean, you could do it. You could hire yourself out. You could be like, hey, Law. Pay me one gil per transport. I think Law's a little bit like me, though. Law likes to do stuff herself as well. We're independent people. Independent, to be fair. This is literally the amount that I have just mined is only going to get me 2 rings. Like, how insane is the amount of shards you need for this? For crafting in general, honestly. Somebody needs to talk to Square Enix about their shard distribution, because this is insane. It's a crazy theory, but I think I can make it work. I mean, you might be able to, for the right people. Maybe Law's just not the right person. I didn't get my Electrum ore from my dude. Now I'm gonna have to walk into the steps of Nald. I hate this place. This is the one I hate the most out of all of the main cities. It might be, who knows? She might yell at you again. Yeah, I hate this city the most out of all of the cities that I've seen. And I'm a dummy gummy. No dummies. You're just helpful. You want to be helpful. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. What am I making? I don't even know what I'm making. Electrum. I'm making Electrum stuff. Minus the slot machines. Yeah, no, that's at the casino. Can we also talk about the fact that how hard it is? And I suppose this is so, like, you can't just like have your friends cheat and stuff, but can we talk about how hard it is to to get a 2-person mount? Like, for real. Why is it so hard? Electrum ores. Okay, did get some. I don't think I have anything that... Oh, there we go, some more Electrum ore. I'm gonna try and make a high qual. Oh. I mean, maybe. I mean, you'd have to ask them, but it's high potential, honestly. You'd have to go asking around, you know? Where's my goldsmith? There you are. Oh my gosh, Electrum ore's another big one. Make me cry. This increases progress. Okay, that's not what I want. Yes, increase the effectiveness. Oh, fucking wanker. Didn't even work! Whee! Okay, that one worked. Get this one. Adding extra durability. Okay, thank goodness. I wanted another high qual electrum ingot to make my life easier. Where did it go? Goldsmithing. Here we go. I'm making my rings. We make them really pretty. They're going to be beautiful. They're going to be high quality. Excuse me, they're going to be high quality, I said. Thank you. Goodness me. The game wasn't interested in helping me out and making them high quality, honestly. Okay, this one's not going to be might be more tricky to get a high qual, but we might be able to do it. Oofed. Failed. Oh, succeeded! The design or close the program because the sketch of the concept is unnerving to see out of the corner of my eye. Do it! Finish it! You can do it! I believe in you. If I can make high quality stuff with little to no understanding of how the crafting system actually works, then you can do what you need to do. Where's my rings? Where have they gone? Uh-oh, did I make them and now they're missing? Oh, near, oh, near, oh, near, oh, no. There they are. I found them. That's how I learned crafting. Stumbled through it badly. Yeah, exactly. See, I don't actually really know, but my main words are really hard. My main problem is that... Is that one better? Oh, wow, wild. Holdy. Oh my god, I'm really bad at speaking today. My main problem is that I don't know what I really need. I'm learning. I'm just, yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what I actually need to know. We need a new choker or necklace and new earrings. But also, like, look at all of this shit in it. Someone's still wearing that ring, those rings. No, those are the new rings. No, they're the old rings. Someone's still wearing them. Who is it and why are you doing it? Let's get you all fixed up, buddy-o Bill. Mr. Leatherworker. Probably Mr. Armorer. Recommended gear for everybody. 3 little words sat on the window. Oh, that one has its own. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So that's the other thing I need to remember is that some are CP and some are GP. Not that I know what the difference is. Something. I don't know what the difference is. CP. Tell me what it is. What are you? You're not even going to tell me. Why are you not allowed to hover over things and it tell you what they are? What's my question? Final Fantasy, answer me. Tell me. Why? Like, you won't tell me the answers to my questions. I think all these are going to be okay. But I'm going to check them anyway. Oh, that one's not. Here you go. Have a new ring, Mr. Ms. Carpenter, the carpenter. What about you, Mr. Weaver? Oh, you need one too, look at that. Okay, perfect. So now nobody should be wearing those rings anymore. Yeah, look. I don't know why there's 2 of those ones. They're low level anyway. Why are there 2 of those? I don't even know who's wearing them. Can I see who's wearing them? Open gear set list. Oh, okay, so they're for the other stuff. Things seem to change. Why are you not allowed to sell so much stuff on the market? Well, this says shop selling products and it says market prohibited. Why, when I probably made them, am I not allowed to sell them? Oh, I obviously didn't make those ones because I don't say my name on them. Can I... Do I have to just discard some of them? It still already says unsellable. I don't know, we'll leave them for now. I'm sure it's fine. We'll worry about that later. When I actually need to worry about it. And let your head down. Alright. Chokers. Chokers, chokers, chokers. And let your head down. Necklace. Favorite song. What's the future us problem? Enjoy sucker? Yeah, exactly. Bye, Felicia. Nobody's listening. Literally me, though. All the time. Okay. Okay, well, there's a 49, but I'm not 49, so I guess we're gonna go with the 39. That's kind of lame. That's such a big jump. Is there any, like... Can I can't ask for... Hello, Pee-Pee! I don't know why I called you Pee-Pee. Hi, P. I was gonna say P, and then for some reason I said a second P, and now I can't take it back. So, yep. I sent help. Like, I'll do that, it's okay. Oh, goodness. Is there a better necklace here? No, apparently not. Oh my god, why is there birds outside my window just screeching? Oh, send help, please, somebody. Please, somebody. I'm running around not knowing what anyone is called these days. I call it P, because I'm allowed to. I don't know if anybody else is allowed to call it P. And it's also because, I used to call her Sparky before I knew her, and now it just kind of feels weird to call her Sparky. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Who am I meant to be getting this from? The Mithril, I think the Mithril. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. I think that's the best one I'm going to be able to get. Which is really unfortunate because that's a CP 23. The next one that I can get is a CP 26, but it's 49 and I can't use that yet. Lame. Oh, yeah. Alright, Ethereal Choker it is. And I love you. No. Don't make me tongue-tied. Illumin. Back to Drybone we go. Am I already in? Where am I? I am in Thanalan. I could have walked, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Nobody can make me. Oh, I should have gone to my... Lame. I'm so lame. I should have gone to my... retainer. Because I had stuff in my retainer, it says. Goodbye. Me tongue-tied. No, I'm just listening to music. Because I want to post this on YouTube later, so I can't have music on it. I'm just using game sound. Wee. Wee. I can turn my game sound up if need. Wee. I'll see if I can find the... I do have it quite low, to be fair, because it always bothers me. I'm not using Spotify. So it will... I can't believe I did this, and now I'm gonna have to... I'm gonna go back to Monosia because I prefer Limsa. I'm using Plex, which is on Google Chrome. So if I put it on, then it would have, like, all other sounds and stuff from my Google Chrome too. I waste so much money teleporting, but I just cannot be bothered walking. Ever. Okay, we need Ethereal ore and Gigantoad skin. Yeah, I have it set up for Spotify. I just don't have it set it up for Chrome. And I'm using Chrome for my music. What am I looking for again? Toad skin. Yeah. And with obviously with Chrome as well, like if I have Lord's stream up or anything, that's gonna come through to the stream as well. So that's why I don't have it on today. What am I doing? Leatherwork. I don't know if I've made this before, so we're just gonna do it and we're gonna see what happens. I mean, I can change to Spotify. I'm gonna give extra durability because I'm a bit scared. Perfect. On me. Totally forgot to toggle my hat today. That's fine. Why is that not coming through? There we go. Do I need more than this, or is that enough? I don't remember how much it said. Where's it gone? Oh. I just needed the one. Oh, look at my beautiful setup, guys. Gorgeous. Alright, let's see how we go. Increases quality. Oh. Oh, we're failing! Oh! Oh, it's exploding! Woo, okay. Floaty crystal ones. Ooh. I like that. Yes! Hi, Qual Choker! It's so bad. Where did I put it? Why can't I just... Okay. Oh my god, there's no room in here. Holy I can't make any body stuff. Look at this. Oh! That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Oh my gosh. That's... I need to fix that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Alright, I did the goldsmith. We gotta work our way down. Botanist. Yeah, that's level 60 already, so that's fine. I think I got that one from something, but I don't know what it was. That one's also fine. Us using that as well. That's using that as well. Turning off the auto send to armory chest option. It doesn't auto send. I think I just was putting them in there before. And then now I don't know. Because I'm having to transfer them now, so I think obviously I must either had it on before or I was manually bringing everything over. Sent me a voice message. Where? To answer your question, I don't think so. So even like when we've done Discord before, if I share one tab, even if it's separate from the other like 3 tabs, it still captures all the audio from all the Chrome tabs. But I changed it so you guys have music. It's all good. I think I don't know how it works. Yeah, it's just how it is. Is there a way to do the glamour without keeping the glamour? Ree? Is there a way to do the glamour without keeping the glamour? Because I've got like, I think that's my main thing, is I've got lots on there that are kept for the glamour. So like this one is a clotho, and the clotho is here. And I've kept it because I felt that I needed to keep it. But surely there's a way to do glamour without keeping the item permanently. Add to armory chest in the in-room. Oh, so hello. Welcome back. How are your puppies? I'm gonna go have a look. Or mirror? Okay. Is that in here? Puppies are gone! What do you mean gone? Where have they gone? Oh, Dad. Lord, don't do this to me! My goodness! Oh! You had my heart going, Law! Innkeep. I found the innkeep. Okay. Hello, innkeep. Retire to an in-room. Okay. I'm like, how's the puppies? I was like, gone. Like, what? What do you mean gone? Oh, in here? I think I've done one before. Oh, wow. Look at this. Oh, wow. Look at all this stuff I've got in here. What is happening? Oh, this is the inventory armory chest. Okay. I put them in here. So, like, using... Okay. So I need to work out... I think this is one. I don't have an application, no. Using a glamour prism on a selected item and placing it into the glamour dresser will reset its spirit pond to 0% and condition to 100%, as well as remove customization, including glamours, crests, signatures, materia, and most ethereal bonuses. Be bound to you upon removal. Yes. So then now... Okay, so now if I go to the Weaver, because that's the one that... Oops. Oh. Oh, I'm naked in this. Sorry, guys. Edit glamour plates. Save? Yes. So can I do that on any... Is there any... Like, can I wear that on any person? I wanted to. So like if I was a different person. Or is it not applicable? Oh, I chose a level that literally can't use it. Oops. Glamour plates work. Oh, apply. Unable to cast. Okay, yeah, so it has to be the role that you want, I guess. But now that I've done it, I can put them. Like this one. If I put, yeah, so I don't, it doesn't matter. If I got rid of it and deleted it, would I still own it? This is very confusing. Head, body, hands, yes. You're making me laugh. I wanna be able to see what I've got on now. Yeah, thank you. Oh, you're going to leave Paris. You'll be fine. Because I've already glamoured some stuff. Do I now need to keep the like the item that I used to glamour the item? Or can I now get rid of the item that I used to glamour the item? You're making me laugh. Also, I have so many things. Look at all these. This is crazy. That's the only reason I've kept all this. Like this corsage. I mean, I'll probably put that in there if I can. Yeah. Thanks. And this one. Is this the outfit glam? Okay, yeah, okay. I could see which ones. I just want the ones that have already got a glamour. Oh, I got no more glam. Oh, shoot, I need to... How do I get more? I need more of them. Oh, is this the orchestra thingy where you can play the music you want to play? I need to go get some more things. Yeah, glamour prism. I speak good English. Speak very good English. I don't know how expensive they are. Make. Oh, I can make them? Oh, I might look at making them, because I'm sure that will be cheaper than... Or maybe, if I can. Here we go. Glamour prisms. Haha! I need a clear prism. Oh, okay. How do you get... Clear one, then? gathering. No? Clear prism. A fantasy. Selling. Oh, you have to buy the clear prisms. Or you can get them from Judy's. Dungeons. Apparently you can get them with this. Or we can just buy them. I might just go see how much they are to buy them. Whee! Whee! Bango Zango! They told me that you sometimes will sell things. Their prisms. 200! I'm sorry, what? 200 for one prism? Oh. I think I just died and came back to life. $400 for a glamour prism. You better buy from your grand company. Oh. Okay. Oh, they're cheaper on this person's selling them super cheap. As well. But I will go check out the grand company. Not that I ever do anything with... I think I'm at this grand company. I think. Upstairs. The Maelstrom one, I think. Not that I literally ever do anything for them, so I don't know if I'll have any currency, but we're gonna find out. Way! Let me go upstairs, lovely sir, to the drowning wench. Free falling. See, this is what I was saying yesterday, Paris. Just ask Law literally anything and everything. She knows everything. She's super smart. Where am I going? I don't know where I'm going. I'm not going the right way. Whee! Yeah, I think I am at this one. I think. Can you walk a bit slower? Can you... I'm about to dispel you, I swear to gosh. Can you, like, not walk so loud? Got lots of things here, my goodness. Materials. Not that one. But this one. I don't know if I'm able to buy them. What's in here? Oh, here, glamour prisms. Okay. Right, I found them. This is a very specific... Is this the seals? So, okay. I've got heaps of these seal things. I'm just gonna buy lots. Oh shoot, I'm buying the wrong thing! Oh, I'm a wanker! Oh, Oh! Want to know something crazy? Yeah. I want to know all the crazy. I'm sorry, what? Are you okay? I'm just missing this puppy, by the way. His steps are bothering me. You're wearing shorts? Like, have you been wearing shorts all day? Or you just, like, changed to shorts just now? Like, oh my goodness, I've just realized this person in front of me's name was Alf Stewart from Home and Away. That's so funny. You just, oh, okay, well, that makes more sense. I was gonna say, you ain't no way you went out in shorts to work. Well, just ain't no way. But still, that's crazy, because you don't do that. Oh my gosh. Well, that's good that you don't mind them. My bridesmaid's tight. Oh. Items with durability less than 100% can't be converted into glamour. Oh. Okay, well. Guess that's not being converted then, is it? Okay. I think I did it correctly. What do you mean it didn't have the specified appearance? What's broken? I'm so confused. What did I break? I broke something. Why am I always breaking something? Glamours could not be restored. I don't know what one's broken, but I guess it's fine. I don't know. None of these are updated to be anything else. Okay. Is I a virtue? So that should have fixed some of my armory. Not really. Sure. I'd love to see. So what do you do with market prohibited stuff, Law? Do you just like break it down? Like, because I have so much Like, do you just desynthesis it? I have a lot of stuff that's market prohibited. Break down or delete or sell to a vendor. Okay. Maybe it'd be better to break it down. What do you get if you break them down? Just materials. It is this. There is no way this is worth 39,000 gil though. That's gotta be wrong. I'm gonna go see a person about how much this costs, because there's no way they're gonna sell this for $29,000. I'm sorry, it's just no way. What? Daddy heard someday. Be afraid. Can I sell to this person? Even though they're a musical role It's okay. It's not even tell me how much it's gonna sell though. It says sells for 680. But then it shows shop selling price is 39,000. So which is it? So confused. I see. Shop selling versus sells for. You can see the shop selling price listed at the bottom of the item description if it is something that can be purchased from vendors. Okay, so this is... If you were to buy it... Okay, if you were to buy it from a person, it would cost 39,000. Okay. So I may as well just break it down, because it's only worth 680 gil. I just don't know what you get when you break... What do you get for... or when the synthesis? Wood, steel, or crystals. Okay. Okay. Let's do that then. We'll break it down. Break it down! Ooh, ovum wall, lightning crystals, wind crystals. These are attached, so we don't need that one. Some of them I want to keep because I feel like I might reach a level that will be relevant eventually. So I don't want to get rid of them. This one's Lancer. I don't know what DRG is. Something. And I think Reaper. Why is that not on the Reaper one then? It's my Reaper. Do I have a Reaper? Yeah. Oops, doesn't that compare? Oh, it's just better. Okay, well, I'll just break this one down then. What's a unique, untradeable item? It's fine. Oh, chromite ingots and ice clusters. Wish I could do multiple things at once. Make me happy. Yeah, all of that stuff that's applied to stuff. I've got slots in my inventory being filled up now. Well, let's go downstairs and make some space. I mean, I could put, actually, I can put, some of my potions in my satchel bag. For now. It is desynthesis. Oh, linen yarn. Increased chance of receiving rare items. Why? Well, that one's just discardable. I can't do anything with that. Oh my gosh, look at all this as well. And all this. I have so much. I even have a gladiator set. Why don't I have a gladiator set? I do then. Oh, it's higher. Yeah, we'll keep that. There's so much in here and I don't even know what any of it actually is for. Three slots in my inbox already, in my inventory. What would happen if I asked you to stay? I'm very not interested in that. Oh my goodness, we have so much in here. Why is there so much? Oh, no more slots in my inventory, okay. I have to go downstairs and see my retainers and see what I can combine with them. Coming! You're conning! Drown in troubled waters, drown in troubled waters alone. Oh, they're cute shorts. I like it. Suit you. I like it. You heard me. You conning? You're conning me! Oh yeah, I'm mute on Discord. I'm deafened and stuff. Let me drown, drown in troubled waters alone. You won't let me down. Whoa, say you won't. Wee, way, way, way. I stream only lunch still, so won't till later. That's fair. Maybe you can stream tonight. Since I can't really stream at night times. Be a nice on-off. I stream during the day, you stream at night. As soon as I can't really at the moment. Oh, the bronze rivets. Oh, that's fancy. I didn't even know that. Mixed stream team. Well, someone's got to be a partner for that, unfortunately. They don't just let anybody have a stream team these days. Hello, thank you. Yep. Go straight back out and get more wind shards. Get your shit together. I'm trying! Bruh. Don't even start with me. I'll whack you. Maybe you'll get a partner before I do. How about demo full? Never know. Not with that attitude. You're chasing waterfalls. Used to. You too busy? Yeah. That's fair. You're moving so fast. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to see anything when it's all grayed out. I know that one can be distant. To be fair, I could probably just synth anything that's not applied because I feel like I'd be able to craft whatever I need anyway. Meteor Survivor Ring, jeez. Well, that one's gotta stay. And that one. chasing waterfalls. That we used to. And I have it your way or nothing at all. Oh, unique untradeable item. Oh no. Bye, Felicia! Oh my god, look how many pants I have! No, don't discard any pants. Bought them. Miss me, I probably almost just got rid of some really good pants. Why do I have to do this all one at a time? Yeah, I mean, they did, bring down the, they changed the requirements slightly recently. To be honest, I'm pretty chill. I don't really mind. Much prefer that somebody else was able to. I'm pretty chill. I don't know what I am right now. Why that's saying that I can. Yeah. Yeah, so it used to be 75 average viewers over 7 different streams over a month, and you had to have a certain amount of followers, I think, or something as well. They recently changed it. I think they've changed it so it doesn't anymore. To pieces. Yeah, no, it used to be different. Yeah, you need 6 streams on 6 unique days with an average of 75 viewers 2 months in a row. Good, keep it that way. That's what we do. We don't look at it. A little bit of love. Here's what we do. We just chill. We don't even worry. I want to. I mean, you can if you want. We're going up? Nice. Very good. $56. Nice. Excuse me. It's 50 last you load? Well, there you go. Doing good. Alright, we'll keep it that for now. I should go back to what I was doing actually, which was making stuff. We need to look at earrings. Back to you 'cause I need it. Okay, red coral. Oh no, not red coral again. Game crashed. Saying no. No gaming for you. Red coral earrings are the flippin' best thing you can get. I hate red coral. I didn't even look at what skin it was I needed. I need boar hide. Who has the boar hide? Why is it not you? Alright, can we buy any red coral on the store? Because I really don't want to. Oh my gosh, it's so expensive. No, I'm buying it. I can't be bothered going and fishing red coral right now. Not doing it. Did it earlier, I'm not doing it again. Sad. Inside the soul of the moon. Needs to be a goldsmith. Oh. Crafting. Okay, cool. I've got that. Synthesis. Oh dear, what's he been doing to himself? Nice, a pair of red coral earrings. Huzzah. Oh my gosh, what did he do to himself? What? Well, these ones will have better earrings because... Oh, what happened to that outfit for the botanist? It's weird. What happened to this one as well? Did I accidentally delete something I shouldn't have? I'm so confused. Then should be gathering, not crafting. I think I've deleted something I shouldn't have. Fuck. Oh well. My bad. free. I'm just kicking myself because apparently I deleted something I shouldn't have, but that's fine. Final gift. 45, 39 is the lowest I have, but 38 is kind of low for the pants and stuff. I doubt I'll be able to get better pants though. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Don't
How
mind
are
me murmuring to myself. I'm alright.
It's good.
Chillin', chillin'. Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh my goodness. What are you doing to me?
I love it.
Ooh.
I never done that before.
Nobody has. Congratulations.
Oh.
I don't remember how long it is. That's fine.
What place to be established I needed to go to do the goldsmithing / the woodwork?
did
'Cause I wanted
send
to
it
do
in
woodwork
chat.
initially, didn't I?
You did want to do
Carpentry.
Carpentry is, I do remember, New Gridania, which is in the Black Shroud. You'll have to go to Old
Okay.
Gridania and then walk over, I think. Oh, there is one in New, actually. Maybe.
Do the Chocobo things go to that area?
You can't use the... No, so where are you now?
The main area, the starting.
Yeah, so you have to TP over to there.
The Chocobo won't go there.
No, you could do the boat thingy, whatever it was that you used when you've done it before. Hello.
So wait, what area do I go, sorry?
So it's the Black Shroud, New Gridania. I think you can take the airship, like you have before.
Okay.
Otherwise, you just have to TP. Up the lift, remember?
Yeah, no, I don't remember. I have no bloody idea how to get there. I wonder. Yeah, because I'll have a look at see how much it is, because the teleporting's really expensive.
Yeah.
I had a look because I was just fiddling around the other day trying to work out how to get somewhere, and I was right next to one of the Chocobo things, and I had a look. It literally cost me like 10.
Yeah, the
teleport
chocobos
was
are
like
cheaper.
150 to like 280, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it is technically cheaper because it's the same price no matter where you are.
Yeah, it was good.
So like, if you're
no, I don't think it was the same price. I think it was a bit different
No,
in different spots, but it was just quite cheap.
I think it's pretty close to the same price no matter where you are.
Yeah, it wasn't bad though. It was really good. I was very surprised.
You know, teleporting's the
Bloody hell was
same
that?
price even if you're like 3 towns over.
Oh, I was baffled when I worked out actually how much it cost. I was like, shit, because I was just doing it willy-nilly before. So like, I've worked out to use my recall thingy, like my return thing first.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it as well. It would take you to your home point though. You have to remember not the closest one. So.
No, I know. That's I knew, and I have to come back here for pretty much everything still, because I'm very low level. Oh shit! Where the bloody hell is this elevator again?
In the middle.
I need to get a mod that allows me to put markers on my map, I think.
Yeah.
That'd be really handy.
Oh, I can get these pants. I need to get more fleece though. And schnurble tufts. Yeah, so in Thanalan at I think that you go to the Chamber of Rule. If you go to one of the little things, that's the one you TP to get to where the elevator is.
Sorry?
So if you go to one of like the little blue aetherites.
Yeah, no, I just didn't hear what you said.
Oh, the Chamber of Rule is the closest to the lift.
Okay.
How much is it to buy a fleece rather than me having to go and get? Oh my gosh, never mind, I'm just gonna go get it.
You're like, fuck that. No thanks.
What's the other thing I needed?
The Chamber of Rule.
Chamber of Rule, yeah.
Okay. Dan, does that cost me anything doing that?
No, the ones inside,
Okay,
like
cool.
when you're inside any town, they're free.
Okay.
It's just the going to the big ones.
I found him.
Yeah, they're pretty easy to find once you've kind of been there once.
Thank you.
That's alright. As I said, I still get lost
Literally,
sometimes.
when I said to
It's
you,
totally fine.
Like, when I said to you I had been running around for 45 minutes, it was not a fucking exaggeration. Like, I literally was in circles and just getting pissed off. It's embarrassing.
I'm sure that Law can attest that it is easy to get lost.
I think I'm
in
just a
Final
twat.
Fantasy. No, honestly, like, unless
I'm
you've actually
honest.
played Final Fantasy games before, I feel like the maps are, like, completely different to any other type of map. Because of the style of map they do.
I mean, I guess.
Because they make, like, a really kind of, like, old-style map. So I think that it's kind of hard to follow if you don't know how to follow it. Yeah, see? Even Law says it's hard, and Law plays all of the... has played pretty much all the Final Fantasy games. Where do I need to go?
The airship ticket has a quest with me, so is there a way I can evade that quest and just talk to them so I can actually travel where I need to go?
Yeah, I think you should just be able to talk to them. Unless it's a main story quest, in which case you won't be able to, but if it's just a normal quest, you just talk to them and you choose
just looks
what you
like
want.
a normal one.
Yeah,
but
then you just choose what you want when you talk to them.
I can't.
What you mean you can't?
It's making me hand something over and going travel to this place instead, and I'm like, I don't fucking want to. I'd like to leave, if that's alright, game.
You can't just go to the gate and enter that way? You have to talk to them?
That's the only way to get through, innit?
I don't know. I
am I
haven't
being
used
dumb?
I haven't used the airship in like literally forever because I haven't needed to. You might be able to just go over to like the gate thing and there might I think there's like a light and you can right click on it. Law says she spent 45 minutes trying to find a fishing location yesterday.
Alright, so we're in the same boat. I was looking for a bloody elevator.
Mine's because I can't understand the coordinates. Like right now I'm trying to look for a specific coordinate.
No, I'd be fine with that. That'd be chilling,
I'm
but
terrible
literally, with lack of information, trying to look for something, I'm just bloody flailing around. And I'm just like, what's going on?
Okay, 27. Then 23. Is it this way? Okay, this way.
Let me out! I want to go on the airship, you bastard!
If I could give you money so you could spend for your airships, I would. I just can't. I think it's like I don't get why you can't trade because obviously it'd be a really easy way to like make lots
Do
of
I just
money
do this
and
travel
stuff,
thing?
but
Because I actually don't think I'll be able to use it until I finish this quest.
probably.
You suck!
I didn't do nothing.
Not you. The attendant.
Not the attendant's fault. They're an NPC. They're just been following their coding. Leave the poor NPC alone.
Well, get new coding. Ooh, what's that?
Oh, Highland Gubu. Don't you go attacking me,
Ooh.
sir. I'll whoop your ass.
It's a gigantic cactus.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? It's pretty. He's got decorations. Am I in like a circus town or something? What the hell is this?
Oh, that's the casino. Did you end up going on the airship?
Ooh.
Is that where you went? Did you go on the airship?
It's sent me somewhere. It's made me go somewhere.
Oh, yeah, then that's the casino quest.
It looks sick.
Yeah, you learn how to play triple triad and stuff.
Alright, I'm down. I
Think
won't
you
say the G word, but I like playing games.
Yeah. I think they have,
Responsibly, like an adult.
I think they have, like, roulettes and stuff, and, like, I don't know.
Oh, hell
Like,
yeah.
I've only been there, like, twice, so...
That's the other thing I'm trying to work out. If for my birthday, do we go and eat in the casino because it's so bloody cheap? The food is like literally so cheap, and then just go and do that all night. But I feel like I'll be bored.
I mean, it's up to you. It's your birthday.
I might see if there's like a time zone in the city or something close to the casino. Go to time zone, then go to casino for dinner, and then like fluff about in there.
Yeah.
Cause I like time zone. Makes me happy.
Are you doing your, like, story
Right, there's
quests?
lots
Like,
of-
what are you doing?
Oh fuck knows, man.
What you
I just wanted
mean?
I just wanted to go on the thingy, but it's not let me, and I had to follow this thing instead. So it just is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, but...
Airship ticket. Oh, what?
Oh, yeah, you're trying to be
What
like
do you
a
want,
carpenter
man?
and shit, aren't you? That's what you're trying to do.
I'm not doing that right now. I'm at the casino, apparently.
No, before, when you were trying to go on the airship.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to get jobs. All right, there's quests in it. I might fluff about in here for a minute. This looks fun.
Yeah, right. I'm just over here making pants and shit, so...
I knew you'd spoken about this area, but I didn't think it actually looked this cool.
It is, it's really cool. It's very well done.
It's very bright. I like it a lot.
One of the reasons I like
I wonder if
Square
it'll
Enix
actually
so
let me
much,
play.
because they're very, good at what they do.
I really hope it lets me do stuff, even though I don't have a full account.
I think you'd be able to. I think it might be like, obviously some stuff you might not be able to, but... When I looked, at the restrictions the other day, it didn't have anything like that.
Okay. Try your hand at Mini Cactpot Broker.
Yep.
Mini Cactpot is a game of chance. Okay. Just guess the value of the covered numbers to win. How the bloody hell are you meant to know that then? That's some bullshit, that.
Maybe long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from?
The count of Mini Cactpot tickets resets daily. Okay. Okay. To play, uncover any 3 numbers. Based on that information, guess the sum of each line. I've got to do math, do I? I just come home from doing math.
I've been married long time
Finally,
ago.
select a single line. The payout of MGP will depend
Lot of
upon the
this, yeah.
total sum of the line you've chosen.
You have
Sorry,
to do
I like
math.
math. Of anyone to have to do this, me is probably good choice. Okay. So have I just got something in my inventory then? Is that what's just happened? What's this? MGP voucher.
That's what I'm telling you. You
Or do
should
I-
stream when you're learning how to play this, because you talk so much.
I mean, I can if you want me to.
Oh, I don't mind. Just raid you when I have to finish soon, like...
I mean, sure, I guess. I do need to get me lunch still. I just wasn't hungry when I got home. Maybe I sort that and then I'll start it.
Right. Sounds like a good shout to me.
Is that, do I redeem, is that like casino chips or something? Is that what that's about?
Probably.
Okay. That makes some sense, I think.
A very long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Fat Joe?
Why have I got raisins? The fuck? That's so random. Alright. I guess. It's a bit weird. But I'll take them. Why is there another bloody update for OBS?
There's always updates for OBS.
It's insane.
I just ignore them.
Yeah, I'm going to, but it's bloody...
It's poor
I did one the
streamer.
other day, man.
It's poor streamer stuff, but what I do anyway. I make the recommendation to anybody else to do that, by the way. Definitely do update your OBS all the time, but
Well, I mean, to
don't.
be fair, I did that and then it broke my Stream Deck thing, so... You know,
no.
I live my life in sadness and misery.
No, we're married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go?
What time do you have to skedaddle?
2:20 at the latest, so I've probably finished like 2:10, so you got like 20 minutes.
Okay, got me food sorted and title sorted and all of that.
Okie dokie, artichoke.
Will you come back and say hi after?
Yeah,
Because I still will probably need some help.
yeah. What do you mean? You're cracked already. Look at you. You're just amazing. I don't know what you mean. You don't need help.
Why?
You're just so good at the game. I don't know what you mean. You don't need help.
I haven't done nothing. I ran around for 45 minutes looking for a fucking elevator. What do you mean?
That's alright.
Is
We'll
it?
run around for 45 minutes looking for a fishing spot.
But that's valid. I was looking for a fucking elevator in the starting location.
Yeah,
of
but
the map.
fair, you didn't know there
Like,
was an
come on.
elevator because it didn't say there was an elevator.
It doesn't actually tell you. That is fair.
So, you know, and you didn't know there was elevators.
And in no way is it indicated on the map either. There is no symbol.
And you
Like, at least should be like a funny color or something.
and you don't know that Final Fantasy had elevators. Now you do.
No, I thought it was old-timey. I don't think there'd be bloody elevators, but to be fair, if I saw the casino, I probably would have thought there's elevators, because it looks bloody fancy. Not that funny.
I mean, there is a an icon actually.
There's not, shut up.
Okay.
What is it? Out of curiosity.
It's a door and it says gatekeeper.
Bro, that doesn't tell me shit.
And it's got a little arrow on it.
That probably told me more shit, but that's besides the point.
And it's got a little arrow, a red one, or a big one actually, quite a big arrow, and then it says airship landing next to it.
Look, man.
I'm looking. What am I looking at?
My disappointment.
But you'd have to look. You have to like scroll right in and know what you're looking for. Like, it's not like it's
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to eat all this. This is absurd.
in front of your face. Well, don't eat it then. What do you mean?
I don't want to waste it.
Then eat it all.
But it needs eating today.
Then eat it all.
I guess I can have some of it and then see how I go.
I don't know what you want.
It's my steak from the other night. It was leftovers because I couldn't eat it.
Fair enough. Why is it saying yes? I
It's
must have
very
made
yummy.
these before for someone else because it's ticked like I've made it before. Yeah.
I actually forgot to send you a photo. I took a photo of it.
Yeah, you only sent me your pants photo. Which have never...
Yeah, I sent you my pants.
Well, your shorts, but
Full
close
stop.
enough. I'll send your pants photo!
You what? Sorry?
You wench! What?
Oh, goodness.
What?
Sounded like another WH word was about to come out your mouth.
We see wanker? Because I called myself a wanker earlier.
No. WH.
WH. You mean hoe?
Is that how that's spelt?
Yeah, but I'm not going to say the actual word. Hoe's less dramatic because I could be talking about
yeah, okay,
a
then
tool.
yes.
Oh, no, I'd never say that to you.
I mean, I think you have.
Okay. Alright, but not in that context.
Yeah, I suppose.
Calling me, I'm streaming, stop calling me out. Jesus.
Sorry. I actually don't care, for real.
I don't care, I just care.
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. I just thought it was funny. I'll send you a photo of this dinner.
God, I think my
Completely forgot the
existence
other day,
is...
to be
I think
honest.
I'm dying.
Why are you dying?
Because... Well, everything itches all the time right now. I feel like I'm, like,
Well, it's hot, so
withdrawing
that
or
does
something.
make sense.
No, like my hair
No,
and
it's
my
just hot.
ears and my, like... My skin's crawling. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's ever since I got my hair cut. I don't know what's wrong with me, honestly. Please send help. I don't even think I can go to the doctor for that. Hi, doctor. I got my hair cut the other day and now my head itches. Like, you're gonna say, okay? I don't know what you want me to do about that, love. I'm sure they wouldn't actually say that. That sounds like a very unprofessional doctor thing to say, but... Black alaman.
I sent you a photo.
Okay. Look in a second. Oh, my
Okie-dokie.
person's not back another 5 minutes. That's rude. Oh, won't work on me. Jeez, that is quite intense, isn't it?
Yeah. It was good though. But there's just a lot of it.
Yeah. Raptor.
It was yummy, but I do a really good job of it.
It's good.
And very reasonably priced too.
Just buying these raptor skins as CBF going to get me home.
It was kind of hard to eat out of that thing though, I must say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't really cut the meat. I was like seeing this so carefully, that's probably why I got full so quick, because it was taking me so long to eat. Because like, if you're bloody too aggressive, you'll fling your food everywhere.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Make yourself some high qual boar leather.
You know, I never would have thought to have steak with tomato and onion, but it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Because that's what it came with. And I was like, bugger it, I'll give it a go.
That's fair enough.
Sorry, I'm being a bit of yapposaurus.
It's alright. I'm just still tired.
It's fair.
I was woken at like 5 a.m. by birds.
Oh, Jesus. I got woken by birds as well this morning.
I had no idea what it was. Honestly, I've never heard anything like it in my life. I'm like, what on? I'm like, oh, and Caleb's in my bed, and I'm like, what is that sound? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, it's the bin chickens, Mum. They've been here every day. I'm like, oh my gosh. I had to go scare them away. Oh, I had to be like, I was literally out my front of my house at 5 a.m. in the morning scaring birds away.
I got woke up, I think, about 5:40 with birds as well. They're right outside my window, just screaming at me.
Well, I had bin chickens and crows.
Yeah, I think mine were crows. They were very noisy.
Bin chickens are worse than crows. I've never heard anything like it in my life. Literally Google what a bin chicken sounds like, because I couldn't even. It sounds like they're scraping their beaks against something while screeching at the same time. I've never heard anything like it in my life, and I don't want to ever hear it again. Bruh. Not having a good day so far, honestly. I've never even known that bin chickens could be... I've never had bin chickens in my yard before. Ever. I don't live on the beach. Like, what are they even doing? They must be migrating from somewhere, because otherwise it makes no sense. We've lived here for like 3 years, or whatever. 2 years, whatever. And I've never had bin chickens in our yard before. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's like 40 of them every single day. They must be migrating from somewhere. And I'm about to die.
Probably from here.
Maybe. Hiya, gaming. How are you? Sorry, I'm gonna write complaint about bin chickens. I love how anyone else that's listening that's not from Australia will be like, what the fuck's a bin chicken? What's wrong with these Aussies?
Everything.
Frodo. We think we're very weird people, but we are, so that's alright. How was work, gaming? I'm assuming you're home from work? Your neck is killing you? That's not good. No, no dying. Not allowed. I'm sorry, it's illegal. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to synthesize this enough time. Oh,
I swear we just get to a point, like, in our 20s where even if you just slightly turn your head too quick, you've just fucked your whole neck and back for like 2 weeks.
Gaming's not... is only just in her 20s. She's young.
Doesn't matter.
She's like 21 or
Could be-
something.
Could be, yeah, but could be like me and already has like issues.
No, gaming's young. She's a baby. Gaming's a baby. 24. That's close enough, okay? I still think Paris is 21 sometimes. It's fine. It's close enough,
Bro.
honestly. I know this woman every single day of my life. Well, not every single day of my life,
see?
but still.
She's not a baby.
Well, she is a baby. You're a baby too.
Then I'm an infant.
Well, you're also 24!
Not yet.
Okay, well, you're turning 24. Gaming, did you turn 24 this year, or are you turning 25 this year? I'm going to assume turned 24 because there's not very many people with their birthday this late in the year. I mean, obviously there's a lot because there's the whole world, but
I was gonna say there's probably about an even amount, you know, to be honest.
have you had? What do you mean to ask the fiance? Have you had your birthday?
Bro, what?
You turned, okay. Yeah, I figured. You don't know, bro. Fuck, I love you. You turned 24 each time. I don't know. I need to ask. You don't know when your own birthday is? Can you tell I rely on my fiance a lot? I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I feel like you should know when your own birthday is. Oh, goodness me.
I'll be back in a
Nuh-uh, nuh-uh. Okay. Nuh-uh. Not important. No, you are so important. What do you mean? No bullshit. I'm gonna smack you. Horrible. Alice is gonna go live and I'm gonna raid her in a minute because I've got to go get my boy. So I'm gonna show you guys with Paris. You're welcome. I told her to go live so that you guys could have someone fun to hang out with.
What?
What?
You shit talking?
Yeah, always. I was just saying I told you to be live so that they had someone fun to hang out with.
I did say that I was told to be live because I yap a lot when I'm learning.
Yeah, she does. She was literally just like earlier.
Yeah, well.
That's good.
So yeah, is this MGP voucher? Is that like casino chips? Do I right click it and you click use and I'll get them or something?
MGP voucher?
Yeah, I've got an MGP voucher redeemable for 100 Mandeville gold saucer points.
Oh yes, it will give you 100
Okay.
monies.
Use.
Sorry, it's been a while since I
Give
went
me the
there.
coinage. Thank you.
Give it to me.
I'm rich.
Rich bitch. Na 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 na.
Now that I've got all the money in the world.
Something, 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 something. Oh my god, apple juice is so easy to make. That's awesome.
I love apple juice.
Okay.
What?
Nothing. I just said okay.
You're so mean. Every little thing she does is mahjong. I like mahjong, it's fun.
What?
Trust is just literally a gaming hall, essentially.
Yeah, it's a casino.
Yeah, but you don't bloody go and play mahjong at a bloody casino, do you?
Well, I mean, I don't know. you do play poker. It's like the child version of poker.
Cute. What is that? Quest accepted? It was this cute bubble writing with pink around it. That was adorable.
I don't know.
We love it. What are you? Lift up. I don't want to go away yet. I'm hanging around. I mean, I guess. What do you want? No, I'm not going.
Whoa.
I'm busy.
I want to make good, high quality stuff.
You're not allowed.
Well, apparently not.
Oh, we're chugging a little bit today. Might need to turn the graphics down. Still no drop frames, I guess. That's okay.
Cocktail bar.
Alright.
I want to make good apples. good apples. Lame. I failed my synthesis of apples.
What?
Didn't make me apples. I failed.
How dare you?
Oh my goodness. It's not my fault. My touches are failing. Becca, we will both be sorry. You want me, baby. Why is that person staring at me? Stop staring at me. I'm cooking. Leave me alone. What's it to ya? Oh, they were just trying to TP. Never mind. Who can I give my apples to? Apple juice. This person. Bango Zango. Bango Zango. Oh. Apparently I can make more apple juices and make him super happy. Becca, we will both be sorry. No, you want me, oh. I'ma go and get my kiddos from school. I'm gonna pass you guys over to Paris, who is currently also playing Final Fantasy. She is learning how to play. She is brand new. So be kind to her, be nice, or else I will eat you, because you guys are cookies and I can. So be nice, okay? And make sure you help her if she needs help. I'm about to copy my own name. That's not very helpful at all, is it? Because she has lots of questions. I'll be back a little bit later once the boys are home from school and they're all sorted out and everything. But for now, we're going to go and we're going to say hello to POS. I probably won't be live again, though, myself. I'll just be in chat with Paris. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And I will catch you guys next time. If you guys are not following my socials, I'm sure that they're going to post. I don't know why my thing's being... Well, my stream deck's being weird again. Okay. These are my socials. I'll do it myself. And if you guys are not in the Discord, come along and join it in the Discord. We like to chat. We like to hang. We like to do all kinds of fun things. And then we're going to have our raid messages. So if you guys have time, please do come along with the raid. And come along and say hello to Pyrrhus. And I will be back a little bit later to hang out and play as well. But yes, she is brand new, so be nice, please. Especially you gaming. Gosh, be nice, okay? I'm kidding. Alright, be good, guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye! Can't find the end button.